Kobe Bryant, with 5 championships, 2 final MVPs, 1 MVP, and a number of scoring titles, is undoubtedly one of the greatest players to ever grace the NBA. But perhaps his greatest achievement of all is how he has inspired people not only in basketball, but in all walks of life. The Mamba mentality is a philosophy of self-improvement and perseverance that was popularized by the late NBA legend Kobe Bryant. It is a mindset that emphasizes hard work, dedication, and the pursuit of excellence. This may be simple from a micro perspective, but when you zoom out and look at Kobe's ideology from a macro perspective, there is a lot more to uncover in his basketball philosophy, and this video is going to explain it all. Stage 1 is the process. When it came to basketball, Kobe Bryant had no fear. He didn't fear opponents, trying a new move, taking the game-winning shot, and most importantly, he wasn't scared of looking bad or making new mistakes when trying something new. To do this, you must keep the end goal in mind at all times. If you want to add another tool to your arsenal, the price to pay is a lot of work and a lot of missed shots. The pursuit of adding new weapons to your arsenal must be relentless, preferably starting from a young age. As soon as you see something, whether on film or in person, go practice it immediately, and then again the next day, and then again, until you feel like you can use it in a game. The more you do this, the more you can shorten your learning curve and download and learn new skills at a more efficient rate. The yearning for improvement cannot be driven by external factors. It must come from the internal desire to be the best. Because in order to strictly stay on the path of improvement over a long period of time, discipline must take precedence over motivation. Kobe described his workouts as biblical, meaning he did everything by the book across his whole career. He started lifting weights at 17, just 1 year before he entered his name into the NBA draft, and he did nothing fancy, just time-tested lifting methods where he focused on one muscle group at a time. Over a huge chunk of his career, he would lift on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday for 90 minutes, and these were real lifting sessions where he couldn't feel his arms after. Kobe had a simple philosophy: if something worked for the greats before you, adopt it. Why change something that isn't broken? Kobe's workouts and work ethic has become a thing of legend. His obscure workout schedule was created with both the obsession of basketball and real-world responsibility in mind. By starting early in the morning, he could train more each day, and over the course of an off-season, that is a lot of extra hours in the gym. Kobe would typically start his workouts at 5 a.m. and go until 7. He would go again from 11 until 2 and 6 until 8. This workout would allow him to be able to take his kids to school and also put them to bed, granting him a workout that doesn't interfere with his family life or his basketball life. Once you reach the upper echelon of basketball, the separation between players is shown in who pays the most attention to detail, particularly in studying the game. In any pursuit in life, you must devour everything you possibly can of the top guys of whatever you want to achieve. Some people like to look at watches, and other people are happier at looking at how a watch works. And this was Kobe. He looked at basketball and tried to figure out how it worked. On the journey of mastery, there is a flip that has to be switched when you stop watching what has happened, but instead, you imagine what should have happened. Studying film is a task of imagining the alternatives, counters, and options, looking at the bad and turning it to good, looking at the good and turning it to great. To encompass this all together, you can not only train your body, but you must also train your mind. The only way to be detailed-focused is to be fully aware of the minutiae details, not only on the basketball court, but in everyday life. This trains the mind to be present in the moment and trigger active recall when the opportunity to show what you have learnt presents itself. Something that is just as important as all the reading and studying of film was the cultivation of relationships. For Kobe, his jersey was hung up with the greats, such as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Jerry West, and James Worthy. These were the guys that taught Kobe how to get an edge over the competition, and for people who do not have direct access to NBA players, the nature of the internet allows for people to study film and watch interviews from their favorite players from the comfort of their own homes. It is important to have mentors and people you look up to as a North Star, as it gives you something to chase. Awareness and being in tune with oneself is vital when talking about preparation. Before a game, Kobe chose his pre-game routine based on what he needed at the time. If he needed to get hyped up, he would listen to more hard music, and if he needed to soothe himself, he would listen to the same soundtrack he played in high school before a game to take him back to that place. Some games require more intensity, where you need to be more animated, and other games you need silence to ensure a clear mind. But the key ingredient is being aware of how you feel. Kobe was absolute in the belief that greatness wasn't for everyone. If you truly want to be great at something, you have to love it with all of your heart. You need to obsess over it. It is easy to say that you want to be great, but not everyone is willing to make the sacrifices necessary to be great. They have other concerns which spreads them thin of their goals. It not only requires a sacrifice from yourself, but a sacrifice from your loved ones. They need to be understanding of your vision. The analogy Kobe described the balance between chasing your dreams and maintaining a positive relationship with your family and friends as a tightrope performance. Your legs are shaky, and you're trying to find a viable center. When you lean too much in one direction, you correct your course and end up over-leaning in the other direction. So, you correct by leaning the other way again. That's the dance. You can't achieve greatness walking in a straight line. When it comes to being in shape, basketball players should be able to run all day long. If you want to be an elite basketball player, you need to be in great shape. Your legs and lungs should be able to work at peak performance at all times. Cardio workouts should be based on recovery, meaning operating in short bursts, as that is how a basketball game is played. Kobe would do timed workouts on the track, where he decreased the amount of rest time in between until it reached 0 at the end of the off-season. There is a famous quote that goes, "The art and science of asking questions is the source of all knowledge," and this is imperative when trying to progress in any walk of life. Kobe was curious. He wanted to learn, improve, and fill his head with the history of the game. He asked questions to everyone, coaches, Hall of Famers, and referees included. Some people would be more receptive than others when you ask them questions about their craft, but you should risk the embarrassment in the short term of asking questions rather than the embarrassment in the long term when you really need it. When people think about playing a game of basketball, they think a lot about the setup, a lot more than they think about the breakdown, but they are both just as important. After the final buzzer sounds, there is more work to be done, starting with ice. Ice the key parts of the body to bring the inflammation down. Full body tub to mimic contrast therapy. Contrast therapy has been around for a long time, and it can be used to either loosen certain joints or numb certain joints. When breaking down the body, there is always a cause and effect when it comes to pain. Pain in one part of the body is often caused by an imbalance in another part of the body. Kobe would always start at the base of the body, which was his ankles. Bad ankles can create problems in the knees, hips, backs, and all the way up. Even as Kobe got older and his routine changed, his approach always stayed the same, even when you need to be creative. In Game 2 of the 2000 NBA Finals, when the Lakers faced the Indiana Pacers, Kobe sprained his ankle, and although he was able to return in Game 4 and help close out the series, Kobe could not hoop much that summer. So instead, he took up tap dancing. He wanted to find a way to strengthen his ankles without having to play basketball, and after doing his research, he decided that tap dancing was the most suitable option, while simultaneously improving foot speed and rhythm. When trying to reach the highest heights, you will face obstacles, and sometimes you need to identify creative ways to tackle these problems. Having a good coach is of the utmost importance. Coaches are like teachers, and some coaches try telling you things, but great coaches teach you how to think and give you tools necessary to execute properly. Kobe was lucky not only to have a great coach in Phil Jackson, but also a visionary. Phil Jackson was less of an X's and O's guy, but taught concepts within basketball and looking at basketball from a macro perspective. The reason Kobe believed he and Phil worked so well together was because every championship-winning team needs either a confrontational star player or coach. San Antonio saw Coach Pop being confrontational and Tim Duncan being the reserved one. Fast forward to present day from Golden State, Draymond Green is the confrontational star player, and Steve Kerr is reserved. In Phil Jackson's first stint as the coach for the Lakers, he thought Kobe was uncoachable and questioned his authority too much and didn't listen. His second stint as the Lakers coach saw Phil and Kobe have a much better understanding, as Phil realized how Kobe learned and processed information. Tex Winter, who was the creator of the famous triangle offense, sat down with Kobe to discuss the nuances of basketball, and he was a basketball genius in every sense of the word. He was able to take a small detail of a game and inflate it to show the importance in the grand scheme of things. Understanding how the game is officiated will undoubtedly give you an advantage in the game of basketball. Refs have a difficult job. They're not just responsible for observing and moderating the game in front of them, but they are also responsible for controlling the emotions of the game that tend to boil over. When they have a bad game, that is scrutinized, and when they have a good game, nobody mentions it. Kobe believed that every player should make it a point to read the referees' handbooks to know the tricks of the trade. One of the rules that he took advantage of is that each referee is designated a specific spot. When they do that, it creates dead zones on the court, where they can't see certain things. Kobe took advantage of these rules, which let him get away with holds, travels, and other minor violations, which gave him an advantage over his opponents. There has recently been an injury problem that has plagued the NBA, and although there is evidence to suggest that the amount of AAU games played at the youth level is a factor, or the training style changes has had a negative impact, some boil it down to modern NBA players just being soft. Kobe notoriously played through pain. In December 2009, Kobe fractured his finger, and after getting it x-rayed, went straight back into the arena. The training staff looked at Kobe like he was crazy, but his rationale was that if the injury can't get worse, then he's healthy enough to play, even if he had to make a few tweaks. After the injury, Kobe had to change his shooting form from shooting off 2 fingers to just his middle finger. Making the change took a couple of practices, but not just going through the motions, but to the brink of exhaustion, as he had to download new software, which is new form. Kobe took the designs of his sneakers extremely seriously. For the majority of the players in the league, sneakers were about the look and shine, but for Kobe, it was about peak performance. As a hooper, you need to be on your feet for approximately 48 minutes, and you relied on the materials on your feet to aid you. Bryant was a perfectionist in all aspects of basketball, and this was consistent in his signature Kobe line. He cared about the weight distribution, the materials, the cut, the traction, durability. He was meticulous about every curve, contour, and stitch. It wasn't enough for his sneaker to just be comfortable. It had to help him perform better, and with Nike being such an innovative company, they were up to the challenge every time, even if it came with some friction. In 2008, Kobe decided he wanted his next signature sneaker to be low top, and at first, Nike said no, in fear of ankle injury. Nike founder Phil Knight had a mantra which says, "Listen to the athlete," and Kobe, as an athlete, wanted a low-cut shoe. The inspiration for the sneaker came from watching football. The players put more torque on their ankles and lower body than basketball players did, and were wearing boots with a lower cut than the basketball players. The Kobe 4 was a game changer, and Kobe had to pitch the sneaker in front of Foot Locker, as they didn't know how to market the sneaker. The fallacy of the high-top sneaker was that it protected your ankles, but Kobe believed that they actually restricts your ankle by taking away mobility. Aiming to kill and not aiming to please was what Kobe was known for when facing his opponents. Something Kobe said he discussed with LeBron was what constituted a killer mentality. He watched how Kobe approached every practice and challenged him and the rest of the Olympic team every night. A killer mentality doesn't only exist on the offensive end, but it is imperative that you keep the same energy on both sides of the ball. On the Olympic team specifically, Kobe knew that the offensive part of the game was taken care of, so he could really dial down on the defensive end by putting opponents in straitjackets and taking them out of the game. Leadership style changes from player to player, but for Kobe, his leadership style stayed the same throughout his years in the league. It was a style similar to his idol Michael Jordan. He liked to challenge people and make them uncomfortable. By doing this, it forces players to be introspective, and this is what leads to improvement. The only thing that Kobe changed was how he challenged people and was tailored to their personality and their temperament. And to do this, you need to be totally aware of how your teammates behave, knowing their histories and what their goals are. Once this is understood, you can bring the best out of them. The term Mamba mentality was originally meant to be some cool, catchy hashtag that Kobe wanted to start on Twitter, something witty and memorable. But the mantra took off, and now it means so much more. The mindset isn't about seeking results. It was always about the process of getting to the result. Mamba mentality is a way of life, and you must have this mentality in all endeavors. Stage 2 is the craft. A big shot is still just another shot. Kobe believed that people made too big of a deal about clutch shots. If you make 1,000 shots a day, a potential game winner is just one in those 1,000 shots. Once you have the rock, you need to know who is guarding you. Different defenders guard in different ways. You have aggressive defenders like Rip Hamilton and smarter defenders like Andre Iguodala, and because of this, footwork is key, and footwork is about efficiency. You need to be able to get to an attack spot in no to 2 dribbles, whilst also being able to shoot from range. Kobe believed the key was being able to move the defense left or right with just your eyes and feet, without having to put the ball down on the court. A lot of players focus purely on improving their dribbling with an emphasis of playing off the catch, but gravely ignore fundamentals. Kobe's time in Europe allowed him to really dial down on the fundamentals, where his practices included scrimmages without dribbling. Only after mastering pivots, reverse pivots, inside reverse pivots, outside reverse pivots, did he work on the more visually appealing between the legs, behind the backs, and crossovers. From a young age, Kobe had a problem with having weaknesses in his game. At 6 years old, his weakness was his left hand, and he went above and beyond to correct this. He decided to do everything with his left hand, including brushing his teeth and writing, until he felt ambidextrous. Having complete control of both hands on the court gives you a great advantage, especially at a young age. Whether it was dribbling, shooting, or pivoting, it was important for Kobe to be comfortable with either hand. Kobe came into the NBA thin and wiry, but he was an athletic maverick, so he didn't shy away from going to the rim. When you are attacking the basket, you are using your body more than you are using your arms in order to create separation. Due to the size of big men, many defensive players thought they were the attacker, but Kobe never believed this was the right approach. Every time you go to the rim, you should be the threat, even if someone as big as Shaq is under the rim. Understanding the importance of physicality is only half of the battle. You need to truly love the bumps and bruises. You have to love having your jersey held and love holding their jersey back. You have to love getting hit and hit twice as hard back. Winning a championship is everything. For Kobe, it was one of the greatest joys on the planet, and it was that feeling that drove him to always wanting more. And the agony of defeat is as low as the joy of winning is high.